thanks for doing this. First of all, it's great to get to talk to you. You live? Do you live in London like all the time, full
Yeah.
time? Okay.
Yeah.
And whereabouts in London? You train at Shapesmiths, isn't it? And you work there too.
Yeah. That's in Clapham Junction, so South London.
Okay. And is that far from? Because have you qualified for SID, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is that far from there?
It's probably like 40 minutes on a couple of trains.
Okay, so
So
it's
not too bad.
it's essentially a home venue.
Yeah. Which will be
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah, that's really exciting. Um, where you're Irish though originally, are you?
Yeah, I'm from Galway.
Okay, because I'm trying. Your accent is like it's
Yeah,
tricky to place. How long have you lived in London for?
like 11 years now.
Okay, and what brought you there originally?
My dad moved over and he ran a pub, and then I moved over for a summer to work in the pub and then never left.
Okay, what? Where was the pub in Clapham as well?
No, North London, so Enfield.
Oh, that's a big Irish area, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a load up there. Yeah, it was an
Yeah.
Irish
Okay.
pub as well.
What was the name of the pub?
The Sporting Green. And it was green.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And does he still run it?
I know my sister does now, my older sister.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
And what age were you when you moved over to work there?
Like 20, 19,
Okay.
20.
How did
Yeah.
you find that?
Yeah, it was great. I loved it because like in where I'm from, like the middle of nowhere. So there'll be like a house, a field, a house, a field. And then it's like move to London, you're like, oh my God, I can get wherever I want without a car. This is fantastic.
Whereabouts in Galway are you from originally?
Just outside Tuam, place called Ballyglunin.
Okay. Literally never heard of it. I know Tuam, but I've never. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Tuam would be the nearest town, and that's like a
Okay.
10-minute drive.
Okay, cool. Um, and then so you're probably spoilt then with like coffee places and all that kind of stuff around there. Like Shea Smith seems to be in um kind of a hipstery area. Is that fair?
Yeah, Clapham's a very cool area.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Lots of expensive coffee shops.
I'd say yeah. Is that something that you're into?
Oh yeah. Coffee is good. Coffee is very important.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm glad you added in that adjective. So what brings it over the line then? What's the marker for you for good?
For good coffee.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, like when it just tastes nice. I wouldn't go to like a Starbucks very often or Cafe Nero, but there's some like little independent coffee shops that are very very good around Clapham.
Yeah,
You
I'd
just
say
sound like
so.
such a coffee snob.
No, I mean I'm in absolute agreement with whatever. I actually saw a
Yeah.
video the other day. I think it was Caffeine and Kilos or someone shared it of a guy who goes into Starbucks to get boiling water so he can go out to his car and make a pour over using the
Oh,
water. I thought that was pretty good.
it
Okay,
sounds like a good
it
idea.
actually is. In fairness, I was looking at it being like that's, and he actually the real clincher for me of like that's clever is he left the lid on the cup, so then it slowed the pour down when he was pouring out the water. It was as if it was like a kettle, and I
Mhm.
was like, that's really clever because I would have just dumped it in, like being
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
how to do this. And what else then? So Shea Smith's just there always seems to be loads of stuff on. It seems to be involved. It's obviously like a cool gym to be linked with because like there didn't they have a Noble thing there recently and a few bits like that.
Yeah, Noble are getting a European office in London in Battersea, so just up the road. So
Okay,
they've been like they came to us to like open up the Noble shop for the Open, which was really cool.
yeah,
And
that's
then
cool.
they did like a few workouts for members to come and join. So that
That's
was
cool.
quite cool.
Did they give you loads of shit as well? Loads of free shit.
We all got shoes, and then some of the coaches got like a full like head to toe kitted out.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. Um, okay. So so when you were living in Galway then, when you were living at home, were you in college then, or what were you doing before you moved over?
I was just in finished secondary school and then thought about going to uni, and then I was like, oh, I'll just go to London for a bit and then never came back. So
A
I was like,
gap year. You went for a
yeah,
gap year.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then were you sporty at home? Like, did you play Gaelic or camogie or anything like that?
Yeah, I played Gaelic football like all throughout school, and yeah, so like I'd say like 10, 12 years Gaelic football.
Wow.
So that
And you
was
don't
my
play over
main.
there, no? Or you didn't? You've never played
No,
over there?
I went to join a Gaelic team, and they played in like just a random park, and I was like, I don't get it. And like, there's no goals, nothing. How are they training?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just gonna go to the gym instead.
And at what point did you become aware of CrossFit then? Were you going to like a Globo gym and someone told you about it, or how did you get into it?
So I was working in a global gym as I'm a PT,
Yeah.
and one of the girls I work with, her husband set up this Olympic lifting gym, and I was like, oh, that looks quite cool. I was like, oh, I'll love to go and learn how to do that. And then he did like a course to teach PTs how to lift. And then that was right next door to a CrossFit gym. I was like, oh, what are these guys doing in here? I was like, this looks quite cool. And then I just went in and did like a trial class, and then did some workouts in the gym I was working at, and then it was like, oh, I'm gonna join this place, see what it's all about, and here we are,
Um,
7 8 years later.
what do you remember the first open you did? Do you remember when you properly got into it? Like,
Yeah, I remember my first open was like I think 7 years ago.
wow.
Came up on my Instagram like a month ago, and I was just like something really weird. I wrote, "Oh, what a great experience! I can't wait to enjoy this journey." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so like."
Yeah, I saw a meme recently that it was like, I couldn't have less in common with the girl who wrote my Facebook statuses 10 years ago.
Oh my god, it's so cringe. Yeah,
It's so bad. It's so bad.
yeah. And I was like,
Um,
my
yeah,
writing. I was like, well, who knew?
yeah, it's awful. So when can you remember a point? Because obviously, like now you're headed for semifinals. You've been to regionals. Like you've done loads of different competitions as well. Like, can you remember a time where did a switch flick where it was like, oh fuck, I'm really good at this, or I could be really good at this, or was it like a gradual thing where you just kind of entered something, enjoyed it, did well, entered something else, that kind of way?
It was like a more of a gradual thing. It was like the gym I was at, they were like, "Oh, you'd enjoy doing this competition," and I was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll give it a go and then and see how it goes. How it goes." And then it was like a pairs comp, and I was like, "Oh, that was quite cool." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll do another one." And then yeah, I just kind of like spinballed from there.
Yeah, I read an article or an interview. It was like a text interview that you gave for Women's Day. Um, fuck, what was the name of the
Oh,
more life adventures?
adventures, yeah.
And I don't think I've ever heard anyone downplay what they do more. you know, yeah, like you said. So they asked you something about like it must have been done during COVID, I assume, during lockdown or whatever, and they asked you something about like like what do you do, and you said you're a coach, and then you said, and I do a bit of competing, and I was like, okay, that's like you're really downplaying what you do. And then like just throughout there was that kind of thing. I think it's a real Irishism of like, yeah, sure, I do a bit there, and like, oh,
Yeah,
I've competed across Europe or whatever. It was the same when I was interviewing Mickey Smith. I asked him, I like was praising how he did at the games, and he was like, "Ah, yeah, sure, you just go and do your bit." And I was like, "What? Like you finished like just outside the top 20?" Like,
yeah,
um, is that like, is it? Do you ever stop and think about like how far you've come from being next door to a CrossFit gym, being like, what are they doing in there, to being at
yeah.
regionals, to going for semifinals, or is it like too maybe jarring to think about?
I don't know. It's like I think now, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I have done really well. But like, if someone was saying it to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, you just like, just
you
go and
you
do
just
it.
you just lift the weight up and put it down again.
Yeah, not much thought behind it.
Yeah. So when you were doing what made you want to do PT in the first place then? You're obviously like, you obviously say you play GA or whatever. You're obviously into fitness just in general anywhere, were you?
Yeah, like yeah, I enjoyed going to the gym, and then I was like, when I had moved to London, I was like, oh god, I can't work in this pub forever. It's driving me mad. All these drunk people. So then I had a friend. She was like, oh, I did a PT course. I think you'd be really good at that. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Maybe I'll do that then. So then I like went to college over in London and just did that like part time while still working at the pub. And then as soon as I had that finished, I was like, right, I'm out of here, and I got a job in a gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a similar thing. I actually worked in a pub in London as well. Well, in Croydon.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Oh, that's close to me now.
yeah, it's a big Irish area, or was a big Irish area anyway. And it was an Irish pub as well, and it was green. And it
What's
was
it called?
the Broad Green Tavern.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and I had the same thing. I was working there, and I was like, "This is just shite."
yeah,
And I had the same thing of like, it's just like, you know, up until 6 o'clock is really boring because like there's nothing happening, and then
yeah,
from 6 o'clock till maybe like 8, it's kind of fine because like there's people coming in, you're kind of chatting to the same people, and they're updating you on their day or whatever. Then
yeah.
after that, it's just a shit show of like,
Of course.
okay, like I'm not giving you any more or whatever. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
um,
need to go home now.
yeah, and then you're like tidying up and people don't want to leave and stuff. And I actually, that was what made me want to go and do teaching, because I was like, there's a lot of parallels between drunk adults and sober, like 4-year-olds, of like, you're trying to, no, put that down now. No, we don't. No. You've had enough now. You just, no, you two stay away from each other. Like, I was like, oh, there's actually quite a lot of similarities here.
Yeah.
So when you did CrossFit first, was that in Shapesmiths that you did it, or somewhere else?
I started in, it was called Perpetua in Battersea.
Is that
It's
like a
like,
chain of the Dublin one?
yeah, it was
Yeah, okay.
the like, I think the two brothers, like one owned the one in London and the other owned the one in Dublin.
Okay.
And then from there moved to Shapesmiths once they opened, and I started coaching and just training there.
And how long have you been there now then? About 6 years?
Yeah, they've been open, I think, just over 5 years now. And
That's
then with
cool.
a little break, I went to Abu Dhabi for just over a year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. We'll get that later on, but I wanted to say first, when I realized you existed first was in Germany at regionals, where I was like looking at the scoreboard, and I knew like I was obviously interested in it, or I wouldn't have gone to regionals, but I definitely didn't know then near as much as I know now, and I still don't know a lot. But I was like flicking through the leaderboard, and I was like, oh, like Emma McQuaid, and I was kind of looking for like Irish flags or whatever. I kind of thought like, well, there's like 5 of them and I know them all. And then I was like, who the fuck is Aoife Burke? And I was like, and I remember me and my wife saying, I was like, it must be a mistake. Like the flag must be a mistake because we know that she was there. And then
Yeah.
my wife was like, what not Irish person would be called Aoife Burke? And it was like,
Yeah.
the most Irish name. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's a fair point. So like, obviously you were living in London then. So I've forgiven myself for not knowing. What was
Nobody
that like?
knows who I am.
What was that like? Regionals, was that because that was your first time there? That was presumably up until you go to strength and depth, it'll be the biggest stage you'll have like
Yeah.
worked out on. What are your memories of that year?
That just being like such a surreal experience, because I was like, how the hell have I qualified for this? And then it was just a weekend of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually at regionals. Because I think I qualified like 2 spots out, and then I was like, oh, I'll never get going. And then 2 people went team, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going. And then I just remember not sleeping for a whole weekend. Just being so nervous. Like,
And
oh,
did you enjoy during, or is it only like kind of afterwards that you were able to look back on it? Like,
oh, after, like during it, I was like trying, like I did enjoy it, but then afterwards, when it was over, I was just like, oh my God, what just happened? I was like, what? It's over so quickly. And yeah, it was like I don't think I've ever competed anywhere as like that has lived up to that weekend
and
since.
was it like have you any like regrets about it? Or because I know a lot of times when people get to say a big stage, they're filled with that thing of like, oh, this is amazing, I never thought I'd be here. And then afterwards they're like, shit, maybe I should have like pushed a little bit harder on that one and not been so keen. Like I've spoken to people who almost see an athlete they know and they're like, oh no, like you go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, the only thing I wished before that weekend is that I had bench pressed more.
Oh yeah, you had, it was Linda was that weekend, wasn't it? And then
Oh, and
yeah,
I think that was like my 1 rep max bench press, and I was so stressed that I wasn't going to do 10 reps and get cut out on the first day. I was like, oh, then
yeah.
my weekend will be over.
um So after that, then, so yeah, you worked at Chase Smith's and coached there, and then you were in Dubai. Was that like what was the aim of that, or what was the plan? Had you like did you just take a year to go there and come back, or had you different plans, or like what was behind that move?
They contacted me to see if I was interested in working there, and then I thought, oh, well, why not? That would be a cool experience to move to another country. And then they had there was loads of like good athletes that worked for CrossFit. Yeah, so I thought,
Well, that
okay,
was Elliot was there, wasn't he? And they were
yeah,
still there. Yeah, yeah, Jamie.
yeah. But then I was working in a different gym to them that was like 30, 40 minutes away from like they have loads of like
Yeah.
Vogue Fitness across Abu Dhabi. But then that was just a lot of work and probably not enough time put into like sleep and recovery and things like that. So I think I just worked a lot, and training almost took like a backseat that year, and then got a few niggles and injuries, and that's yeah. But it was a good experience, but probably not the best for my training year.
How did it compare living there to living in London? And also compare it living in Galway, just for the crack.
Oh God, the weather. It's always nice weather. And it's just there's something nice to being like, oh, it's a blue sky and sun, not like, oh God, it's cloudy and raining.
Hmm.
So and yeah, it was really cool to live there. I would definitely go back, but maybe like later, not right now. But it would
Yeah.
be nice to go back.
So does that explain then? So there's a gap in your open history. Is that the niggles and that kind of stuff? Is that the year you didn't do it?
Yeah, there was like I think it was like 2021. I had like
Yeah.
a shoulder niggle and a pulled hamstring, and I was just like, oh God. And so yeah, I wasn't able to do the open that year, and then got serious FOMO, and I was like, right, I'm getting back to it.
And was that decision say like taken out of your hands, or was it one that you had to make? As in, like, were you injured and couldn't do it, or was it like it won't be worth it to do it and you need to decide, that kind of thing?
It was injured, and I couldn't
Okay.
do it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's for the best then, that it was
yeah,
you didn't just chance it.
yeah,
So then you're coached, you're with Redpill
yeah,
group, isn't that right?
yeah.
And who's your coach there?
Theo Dalton,
Okay. And
my
what's he
coach.
like as a coach?
He's great. Yeah, he's good.
Um, how long have you been with Redpill?
Since last August.
And who were you with before that? Did you just follow your own
I was
stuff, or?
doing like a little bit with JST, and then yeah, and then decided that I wanted like full on, like all in with the coach and programming, and like saw how amazing Emma was doing on Red Pill. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold.
All right.
And then I was like, oh, and then with all my niggles, I was like, these guys are like known for like their like body mechanics and things like that. So I thought, oh, I'll be in good hands. And I used to work with one of the coaches there, Cyril. He was a coach at Shape Smith, so I had that connection as well. So I thought, let's go with these guys.
He had a retreat in somewhere in Scandinavia or something recently. It wasn't Denmark, was it?
Denmark, yeah,
How was that?
that was intense. That
Was
was
it like a lot of volume, was it?
Yeah, that was like the most intense 2 weeks of training I've ever done, but it was like amazing. It was so cool.
Yeah, because
And
I interviewed Lucy
oh
I think it
yeah,
was like, it might have been like the night before you went over or something. And I
right.
remember, yeah, she was like excited about it, but you could tell there was like just a little sliver of fear of like, oh God, it's going to be really hard as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I went in totally like oblivious, being like, "Oh, this is gonna be great," and then I was like, "Oh my God, this is so hard." But then like
Um,
everyone was in the same boat, so it was just like, "Okay, we're all
yeah.
suffering here together. It's fine."
And your gym are obviously like fairly giving of like, oh yeah, that's fine. You can, like, have you changed, say, your work schedule to suit the fact that you're going to semis, as in like to suit your training and stuff, or has it always worked out pretty good?
Well, when I moved back from Abu Dhabi, I got sent my classes, and I was just like, "Oh, there's no like 6 a.m. starts. This is great. Like evening shifts." I was like, "Oh, I've never done that before." And like not getting up at 5 a.m. every day is such a game changer. Like now to like get a full like 7, 8 hours sleep and then kind of work lunch and evening
Mm.
is so much better.
And then is there anyone else from Shea Smiths that's going to semi-final, or was there a big crew doing quarterfinals?
So what was that?
Is there anyone else from Shea Smiths that's going to semi-finals, or was there a big crew in there doing quarterfinals?
There was a good group doing quarters, and then there's two other girls that have qualified for semis. One girl is going to Cape Town, and the other girl is going, I think, is the Asian
Oh
one
yeah, in
in
Korea,
Korea.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's
Yeah.
three of us off.
And how does that work out? Are you like peaking around the same time, or are they all different weeks?
They're all different weeks.
Okay, okay. And what about then with Redpill? Is there like much chat between you and say Lucy or any of the others about like, are you on like vastly different programs, or is there a lot of overlap? Are you able to like talk to each other about what you're doing and that kind of stuff?
I think every now and again there's some similarities in the program, but like this morning the girls were at Shave Smith, so we all did the same thing. And then we had like 2 weeks ago we went to one of my coaches in Oxford, and Lucy came and another girl came, and we had a training day there. So every now and again it's like we kind of like meet up and do the same thing, but normally day to day I think everyone's program is quite different.
Yeah. Um, if you were offered at the start, say, presuming you had qualified for um, semi-finals, if they said, "Oh, we'll give you strength and depth," is that what you would have taken? Are you happier with that than going to
Yeah.
lowlands? And is
Yeah.
that just because it's like basically everyone from Shea Smith will be able to be there? Everyone from like it's not no one has to travel basically.
Yeah, I was like, it's gonna be nice to have like a good group of my friends there because anytime I've competed, it's always been quite far away. So
Hmm.
there'll be like one or two there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having some like friendly faces in the crowd.
What other competitions have you done outside of say regionals? And you did Filthy that November, didn't you? The sanctionals year. Did you do Filthy that year?
No, I think I had just moved to Abu Dhabi that year, and I was like, oh, I was planning to do it, but then I thought,
Oh yeah,
oh,
okay.
it's a bit too far.
Yeah, that's fair. What other ones have you done?
I did Wadapalooza in January.
And how did you find that?
That was really cool. That was like the first biggest comp in like I think 2 years because of COVID. So
Hmm.
it was just amazing to like qualify. So I thought, oh wow, I'm here. This is really really cool. And then I thought, okay, I'll just try and enjoy it as much as possible because I remembered how stressed I was the weekend of regionals, and I thought,
Yeah.
okay, let's try not get too stressed, get some sleep, and enjoy it. And it was yeah, it was an amazing weekend.
Because there was like Lucy was there as well, so there was obviously a big Red Pill presence. So that obviously did that help things, or
Oh,
like
for
is it
sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was gonna say because
Yeah.
like obviously regional sounded like it was a bit more of a like a solo effort, I suppose, or that like you were there wasn't a
Yeah.
group of people that you were with, I suppose.
Yeah, because four of us had qualified from Redpill, so like we all stayed together, and then just everyone gets on so well, so it just makes it so nice that you can just chill in between events, and everyone's just really like supportive of each other. So it's a nice like environment to be in during a comp.
Yeah. Um, what is like? Have you looked at the list of athletes that are going to strength and depth? Have you like thought about you know who's going and what their prior history in the sport is or anything? Are you trying to detach yourself from that and not think about it at all, or are you happy to kind of look at it and just not care about it?
Well, I went to look, but I couldn't find it. So I've only seen that they've posted like three girls on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, cool, they'll be there.
Oh, if you want to find it,
Okay.
if you go into like the games app and go to like the leaderboard, and you can go
Ah,
semifinals, strength and depth, and it'll
oh,
show you.
okay. Oh,
Yeah,
I'll
it'll show
definitely
you.
go have a look.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like there's obviously there's like heavy hitters, but I mean, I suppose you're kind of getting to the point of the season now where the cream is at the top, like, and it's it's unavoidable. Like if you want to make it, you have to beat the best. Basically, that's what's
Yeah.
happening now. So I suppose that comes, but it's still no less surprising, even from my perspective. It's no less surprising looking at a leaderboard and being like, Jesus, okay, like then, and then you're like, well, I can't pick anyone out of strength and depth, and then it's like, well, lowlands is obviously shit then if these are all here, and then you go to lowlands, you're like, oh fuck, okay, well they're all there. You kind of
Yeah,
forget
it's
how
like,
strong Europe is as a region.
yeah.
Have you chatted to your coach or thought about it yourself of like what does success look like what does, obviously, there's going to be countless different ways of looking at it. Like some people will say, if I don't qualify for the games, it's a failure. Other people will say, well, if I finish in the bottom 10, it's a failure. Other people will say, if I finish below this number, it's a failure. Have you thought about any of that kind of stuff, or is it purely based off performance?
I haven't thought about any of that, but I think if I just go out and do each workout, like if I make a plan and stick to it and it goes well and just do the best that I can, then that will give me whatever result that I deserve. And then I guess whatever that will be.
Yeah. Have you planned beyond strength and depth? Like obviously a lot of it will depend on who qualifies and whether you qualify, or like, if I suppose if Lucy qualifies or if that kind of stuff like that, you might, because I'm always curious about, say, we'll just say hypothetically, if you qualify and Lucy doesn't qualify, would Redpill use, like, would you use athletes that don't qualify to help the athletes that do? Or is it like, okay, you guys are finished now and we're going to swap you on to, an off season, like a longer off season to get you ready for next year?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't thought that far ahead at all.
Yeah, that's fair, I think. What else was I going to ask? Have you done much endurance workouts with Lucy?
I've done a few, yeah.
I'd say
She's
that's
very, very
absolutely
fit.
awful, is it?
Yeah, yeah. I try to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, good luck. She's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, when you look back then and you think of, like, say all the years that you've done it, and you're well over 5 years now doing it in different opens and different competitions and different things like that, are there like mistakes that you've made along the way that you think, okay, well, I can learn from that and I can do that differently the next time or whatever? Or like do you see yourself as, say, I know a lot of people see themselves as a coach, and then they compete in competitions like while they do their coaching, and then other people see themselves as a competitor or like a professional athlete who coaches to subsidize what they're doing. Have you, like, where do you feel that you sit on that kind of scale?
I don't know. I would always think I'm a coach who competes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's always how I would have seen myself.
And like, is competing something that you enjoy, as in, okay, we'll maybe take like the regionals out of it, because that sounded like it just was a weekend of insomnia. But like, is competitions, is that, do you think that you'd enjoy CrossFit as much if you didn't have the competitive outlet?
Like I love the training to it, and I think I've always enjoyed competing. So now that the fact that I can train and enjoy my training sessions day to day, and then go and do something like go travel somewhere really cool and compete against like some of the best people in the sport, it just makes it extra fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, competing, like, yeah, I do enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, look, we finished with a quick fire.
Yeah,
So they're all either or. So snatch or clean,
clean
cardio or gymnastics,
cardio.
bench or squat.
Squat 110%.
You must have been gutted when you saw that quarterfinals workout, were you?
Oh, my heart sunk. I was like, oh, the bench is back. Better than
Bar
expected, so
bar or rings,
rings,
dumbbell or barbell,
barbell,
uh, London or Galway.
Galway.
Well, listen, thanks again for coming on. I hope I get to see you in London at Strength and Death. To be great, and best of luck with the season and everything beyond it. And yeah, it's great. You're flying the flag over there, and it's great to see.
Oh, thank you so much.